So there we were, started, and it was amazing, right? I mean, thousands of people came, and we multiplied hundreds of churches in such a short period of time. It was an amazing thing. Except that's not really what happened. We were definitely living out many of our values, and God was doing amazing things like how we were handling our money. All of those things were coming. The participation, the raising up of the priesthood, all of those things were so much alive and active, and it was exciting and praiseworthy. But there was one thing in my own heart that I wanted more than any of those other things. I wanted us to grow. I wanted there to be dozens and dozens of these simple churches. I wanted thousands of people to be a part of it. And if I'm honest with you, the reason why I wanted those things was because of my own heart, my own ego, so that I could look good, so that I could look at the rest of the colleagues and say, see, look what we did, and look at how wonderful it's become. But those dreams were not being fulfilled. And I don't know that many people in our churches know this, but in those early number of years where those things were not being fulfilled the way that I thought they should, and there was people that were coming around, certainly there was, but not like what I thought should be. And that thought that was with me in my mind, and I was harboring, it was beginning to translate into anger. And I was angry with God. I was angry that He wasn't fulfilling what I thought should happen. He wasn't living up to His end of the deal. I had stepped out to do this thing with my friends. I had, quote unquote, committed career suicide. But He wasn't giving me this grand, big church. And one day I was driving through the city of Vancouver, and this was festering in my heart. And I felt like the Lord speak to me. And what He said to me was, He said, Andy, the dream that you are talking about and that you are holding on to is never a dream that I gave you. See, what had happened was that God had called us into this ministry. And He did have important things, and He is and will continue to tamper with the water systems. But in my mind and with my own ego, I had translated or connected that together with this other idea. And therefore, there will be growth. And I will be seen as being, quote unquote, successful. And what God was addressing me on that day was that I had bolted my own dream onto the dream that He had called, and that had become like Frankenstein's monster. And it was robbing me of all the joy of what it was that God was doing in that moment. I was looking for something else, something that He had never promised to me. And on that day, driving through that city, I confessed that to Him, that I was holding on to something that I shouldn't be holding on to, that I had bolted something onto what God had called us onto, and that instead what I needed to do was I needed to trust, and I needed to be faithful, and I needed to obey, and I needed to evaluate success based upon faithfulness and not upon any of the things that I was seeing around me. And as I prayed that way, the Lord lanced something off of my soul that needed to be lanced off of. And I was released into a new season of just genuine thankfulness for all that God is doing. Now, it's not always there. Of course it's not. I'm human. But that Frankensteinian monster that I had created was gone. And there is a confidence in my heart that whatever we are doing here, that this is right and good because God's called us into it, and He is fulfilling His good and perfect plan through all of these things. And I finish with that story about our own story because I want to encourage you in the same way. Listen to the heart of God. Follow the heart of God. But be aware of the things of your own heart in the midst of this story, in your story. And as you become aware of those things, give them over to the Lord, that you can find yourself more fully aligned with what it is and the intentions that He has in store for you. Wherever you're going to take this and whatever your dreams are and whatever you're doing with this, I pray that our own story has been a blessing to you. In the next little bit of videos, we're going to talk about some of those how-tos. What is it that we actually do in Simple Churches when we meet together? And then hopefully we can use this as a bit of an equipping for you. The Lord bless you.